Welcome to Movie Magic. I am your host, King Crusoe. You can call me KC, and today I want to talk about some films in 2026 that I am excited to watch. Now, for the most part, most of these movies are films that are coming out this year because that makes the most sense to actually cover, and so most of them I will make an effort to come to theaters, but there's definitely a chance that some of these movies won't actually be things that I actually have a chance to see this year, depending on how close to my location they actually show in cinemas. I come from a fairly remote area, and even the semi-local theater that's still 45 minutes away from me doesn't often show a whole lot of things. So, there's a pretty good chance that some of these things I miss, some of these things I'll be able to go to, and then I do have a couple honorable mentions at the end that don't actually come out this year that I do want to circle back around to from 2025 that I wanted to watch and did not, for one reason or another. And that's all the prelude that we need for this video. I'm just going to go ahead and jump on over to my desktop over here to start off with. Technically, this is item number 0. We're going through basically 15 movies that I want to watch this year. This one's number 0 because by the time this video comes out, I have either seen it or I'm not seeing it at all, and I don't know for sure what that's going to be. That is Iron Lung, obviously the movie from Markiplier, the online YouTube personality. I'm actually genuinely very curious to see what this movie is like. Sometimes passion projects turn out really cool and really worthwhile, and by all means, the things that I've heard about the previous film-esque type of things that Markiplier has done as far as writing and directing is gone. This is his first theatrical actual directorial debut in that sense, but he has done some how do you put it, cinema-esque type of stuff before, and by all means, I've heard good things about what he does with all of that stuff, and I'm genuinely really curious to see what Iron Lung is like. I haven't played the game that it's based off of, but I am very aware of what the game is like, and it seems very cool. The concept's very good. Not entirely sure how this could end up being 2 entire hours, but we shall see. Like I said, by the time this video comes out, I've either already seen this, and therefore might have a review that could come out next week or something. I'm not entirely sure. Or I will just have not actually made it out to a theater because I have to go 2 hours away to be able to see this. And in the one theater that I found that is actually showing this 2 hours away, basically all the showings are at night. And this is the middle of winter time, and travel could be very, very, very hit or miss. So I might not even be able to see this. I would really like to, though. This is one of the top priority movies that I want to see at least early in the year. But the biggest film that I want to see for sure, my top priority besides, that I'm not going to make any exceptions for, and that will surely come to a place that I can see it at, is Disclosure Day, the upcoming Steven Spielberg film involving aliens. Who would have thunk it? Not like Steven Spielberg's ever done aliens before, but Disclosure Day seems really cool. There's not that much of a concept for it that is out up to this point, but you're mixing Steven Spielberg and Emily Blunt together, the first contact alien type of thing. I have higher hopes than I have not, we'll say. I'm looking forward to watching this one for sure. Next up is a film that I'm actually way more excited to watch than I feel like I ought to be, given my review of the book, Project Hail Mary, on my main channel, just King Crusoe, because this is coming out on King Crusoe II. On my main channel, I do book stuff, and I review all the books that I've read. I have a review on that channel of Project Hail Mary, and there are some things about it that I'm pretty hit or miss about. One of those things being Ryland Grace, the main character in the first place, feeling both too much and too little like Mark Watney, the main character from The Martian. Very much similarly coded as far as the writing goes in the book and the narration, but there are certain aspects of Ryland's character within the narration and his language and stuff like that that feel kind of arbitrarily different from Mark Watney, so he just feels like a childish, someone who's trying to be PG version of Mark Watney, but doesn't fully commit to that, and that kind of bothered me. But Ryan Gosling being Ryland Grace in this movie, as opposed to Matt Damon having been Mark Watney in the film adaptation of The Martian, I think that these are very different enough to actually make those kind of character difference actually work, and the language issues aren't going to be a problem in a PG-13 film, so that's probably going to be fine. In total, I think that Project Hail Mary as a movie has the potential to actually be slightly better to me than was the book. Even though I liked the book a lot, it has that potential, so I'm really excited to see this one when it comes out. I'm kind of upset that the trailer did spoil the one thing about the book that I think ought not to be spoiled for most people experiencing it, so that's unfortunate. But even so, I am looking forward to seeing this one for sure. Next up is going to be another pretty obvious pick, and that is the next Christopher Nolan film, because obviously The Odyssey could be good. I have not watched any teasers or trailers related to any of this. I'm not going to bow into the discourse regarding like the historicity of costuming and stuff like that, because truth be told, for the purposes of this movie, I don't really care that much. I'm just looking forward to actually seeing a Christopher Nolan movie in the theater, even though like the cast is, honestly, I'm not sure how to feel about some of the casting decisions, we'll say. Ryan Hurst is in here. I don't know who that's going to be. But in either case, The Odyssey could be very good fun. I'm still really upset that I missed Oppenheimer in the theater a few years back. I really wish I would have been able to see that one, for example. But this is going to be probably my first Nolan film in the theater, so I have no reason not to be excited for it, even just for that reason. Next up is another big director, another big blockbuster. That's going to be Dune Part 3 from Denny V. I have some pretty big hot takes with regard to these films, in that I actually like Dune Part 1 a lot, actually. In fact, I watched Dune Part 1 before I even read the book initially, and I think that having watched the movie a couple of times before reading the book was the only thing that, like, allowed me the necessary context to actually be able to finish the book, given the time that I read it. I probably read it a little bit too early in my return to reading and stuff like that. But so I enjoy the first movie, and I hold it in high regard for that reason. I did not like the second movie, however, because I had read the book by that point, and I'm not a fan of where Denny V took Chani. That's the character's name. Not a fan of the direction of that character at all in the second part. There was a huge missed opportunity there to actually make what he was doing work, even in the context of what he's doing with this trilogy of sorts. But I said at the time, and I'm continuing to say now, I'll wait to see what part 3 does before I like make final judgment with regard to all of that. But, you know, I'm excited to see this, just to figure out whether I think the trilogy is worth it or not. But in either case, I'm definitely going to be making content about this late in the year when it actually gets to that point. In fact, I haven't even actually read Dune Messiah yet. I know what Dune Messiah does, but I haven't actually read it yet. And my goal is to read it before the movie comes out, so we'll see what happens there. But next up, we're going to talk about another director who I'm kind of ashamed to a certain degree that I haven't seen yet. That is Eggers. Robert Eggers with Werewolf. So I haven't seen The Witch. I haven't seen The Lighthouse. Lighthouse looks really good. And I haven't seen The Northman, nor have I seen his remake of Nosferatu. So I haven't seen any of his movies, but I am very aware of them. I'm very familiar with them, even without having watched them myself. So, you know, I'm curious about him as a director. I should watch some of his stuff and, you know, get into that, just because it would be good for me to actually explore beyond what I'm aware of. So, like, I should actually watch some of the movies. And so it very good chance that Werewolf ends up being my first Robert Eggers movie, just because that comes out this year. I mean, I might watch some of his other stuff in the year leading up to that, but we shall see. This will probably be the first one, but, you know, that depends. Next up is going to be The Bride, which is apparently a lonely Frankenstein travels to 1930s Chicago to ask groundbreaking scientists to create a companion for him. So it's kind of like a taking the idea of Frankenstein and like twisting it on its head and doing some interesting things with it. Apparently it's loosely inspired by the original Bride of Frankenstein from way back in the day. It just seems like it could be really cool and dumb fun. You know, Christian Bale is apparently Frankenstein's monster in this. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that sounds like fun. So I'm kind of interested in seeing this, if only for that, to be honest. That seems like it could be a really good time. Now, the next couple entries on this list are going to be movies that I actually kind of need to watch a prior movie to be able to watch. I don't necessarily for one of them, but the first one of these is going to be the Super Mario Galaxy movie. That's because I never actually watched the Super Mario Bros. Movie back in, was that 2023 when that came out? I just never circled back around to it. By all means, I think I would enjoy it. I think it would be fun. I've seen little clips of it here and there, but I have not actually watched it, so I should probably watch that first. But if I get around to watching that, then Super Mario Galaxy movie is one that I could absolutely see myself checking out, just again for kind of that fun. Hopefully, apparently people want this to do a little bit more of its own thing rather than doing kind of what you would expect for the original movie to do like it did. Again, I have no say in that because I haven't even seen it, but I would definitely like to watch this if I watch the original. Also, apologies here in the middle of the video for all of the little voice cracks that I've had here or there. I have not talked at all today, and this is the very beginning of 5 videos that I have to record, so that doesn't bode well for me, but we shall see. Next up is Godzilla Minus Zero. Hear nothing but great things about Minus One. I've never seen anything Godzilla related at all in my life, so I do need to watch Minus One before I see this one, if I do see it. But if I watch Minus One and enjoy it, then I'm definitely probably going to be interested in seeing Minus Zero in the theaters. That's all I need to say about that one. Next up is a little bit of a surprise pick. I didn't even know that this was happening until I was like looking up movies that were coming out this year, and it seemed like it wasn't the most certain, and you can tell by the fact that it doesn't have a poster yet on Letterboxd. It could be variable. There's apparently going to be a new adaptation of Sense and Sensibility, the Jane Austen novel, coming out later this year, starring Daisy Edgar Jones, which, like, cool. I'd be interested in watching that. I need to read more Jane Austen myself. I have some adaptations of Pride and Prejudice that I need to watch because I enjoyed that book. Like I said, I need to read more of her books in the first place, Sense and Sensibility being one of them. And so I'm not against the idea of watching one of these in the theater, I guess, when it comes out. In the Wuthering Heights, it's kind of on a similar note, sort of that romance side of things. But this one, I didn't even know this actually existed until I saw a trailer for it. When was it? Like a couple of weeks ago, basically, from watching Marty Supreme in the theater. So I somehow didn't even know this existed, but I'm not entirely sure actually how much Wuthering Heights is going to be faithful to the book. I think it's not going to be. And judging by the trailer, I would almost be a bit surprised if it was very faithful to the book, but whether it is or not, I say why not give it a shot? I'm interested in seeing it. I am morbidly curious, but we'll see how I'm feeling when it comes around time to watching it here in like a month or something like that at the time that I'm recording this. But at the time of the video's release would be, what, like a week? Yeah, like it's not even going to be that long, like the end of the week or something like that at this video's release. We'll see. I might be watching this one soon. Next up, we're going to go through a handful of like kind of not necessarily lower priority picks, but kind of like lower radar that may or may not show anywhere that I'll see. I'm not entirely sure. Goat is a 3D animated movie that like there's a lot of 3D animation these days that like I'm not super into the style, and this is kind of along those lines, but it's not too bad. The reason this is on my radar is because I've been watching NBA stuff recently. Obviously, Steph Curry. There was an ad on one of the Golden State Warriors games that was for the movie, and I was like, you know what? That could be fun. I like basketball, and why not just give it a try? If this show's anywhere near me, I'll go ahead and watch it just because it could be fun. You know, I may or may not bounce off the animation. It may or may not actually be good, but it seems intriguing enough to be worth a shot. Kind of on the same note, at least as far as like certain degrees of animation are concerned, except it's more like CGI, really. That is The Sheep Detectives, which is a movie with Hugh Jackman and a bunch of anthropomorphic sheep who try to solve a murder mystery because they are fans of murder mysteries, because Hugh Jackman, their caretaker, their shepherd, basically reads them detective stories and stuff like that every day, and so they get involved with the plot to solve a mystery. And I don't know, I saw a trailer for this recently. I was like, you know what, that looks like simple fun entertainment, so maybe I'll watch it. Next up is going to be Digger, which is going to be the new Tom Cruise movie. Apparently, this director is the one who did The Revenant, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is the guy who did The Revenant, and starring Tom Cruise. We don't basically know anything about what this movie actually is, so I have no impressions of what that's going to be. But The Revenant is a movie that I haven't seen, but obviously is highly regarded, and that I want to watch at some point here. And that director working with Tom Cruise is something that I'm interested in checking out solely for those reasons. We'll see. For reference, I'm not a huge movie buff. I have not seen very many things at all, basically. If, like, you were to name a popular movie, I probably haven't seen it. And so if you were to name a not popular movie, I'm almost certain I haven't seen it. I'm just not... I'm not that familiar with film. That's why kind of doing this movie magic thing on the channel is to incentivize me to watch more stuff, and thus become more familiar with it. So like all these picks are kind of given, really, to be honest. But that's why it's like all these obvious things like, oh, Revenant director Tom Cruise, cool, I'll go watch that because that sounds fun. I don't need anything more to be convinced to watch it at this point because I don't know anything else. Kind of a similar thing with Flowervale Street, sorry. What is it else that this guy's done? Oh yeah, that's right, it's the It Follows director, working with Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor to, again, a film that we know basically nothing about. A family starts to notice unusual happenings in their neighborhood. The poster is a bunch of, like, dino skulls. Who knows what this is going to be? I have no idea, but it is on my radar because I like Ewan McGregor and because it's a good director. So, there's that. This is going to be my one, like, under the radar pick that probably nobody else is going to really know about for the most part, because I was looking up online, like, what movies are coming out in 2026 that I would want to watch, and was, like, looking through a bunch of lists. There was one of them, and I can't remember which one, but there's one specifically that included In the Blink of an Eye, which is going to be by the director of, like, Finding Nemo and Wall-E, for example. He also did John Carter, which is cool. I haven't seen John Carter, but basically everybody who's watched it says that it basically this franchise got kicked to the curb by Disney before it should have, that the movie was actually really good and should have been given at least a sequel. I don't know off the top of my head, but this is going to be another, like, live action film, and it's more like a vignette of three different, maybe not shorts per se, but, three different things going on in it. And the concept that the website that I saw this on gave to it, I was like, that could be really cool. I'm really interested in seeing that solely for, like, I don't know, art housey probably isn't the right term. I'm not even sure how precisely that term's supposed to be used, so don't listen to me. I don't know anything about film, but, if this shows anywhere that I could see it, I would like to watch it, but I highly doubt that it'll show anywhere. It looks like it says, February 27th, Hulu, and on Disney Plus, so maybe it won't even have it's Sundance Film Festivals where it's going to debut, I guess, or something like that. Or maybe that's where it was revealed. I don't remember. In either case, I guess I'll be able to watch it on streaming if nothing else, but it is one that I'm interested in for those reasons. But I'm pretty sure that is all of the main 15 movies that I had on the list. And then a couple, like, maybes, but these are strong maybes, are Narnia, The Magician's Nephew. I'm not sure how I feel about anybody else trying to tackle doing Narnia adaptations, given I actually really like the original 3 that we got. But, The Magician's Nephew is one that hasn't gotten a film adaptation at this point, so, like, I might be interested in seeing what that actually ends up being. And then Spider-Man Brand New Day, just because it's Spider-Man, but given how disconnected I am from the MCU and how far along things have gone, if this is, like, a direct sequel to the previous Spider-Man movie and doesn't have any involvement with the MCU proper, I might be interested in seeing it, but if not, I probably won't, so we'll see about that. The other honorable mentions that I do want to mention, like the 2025 films that I missed. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and go back to Letterboxd and, like, pull these up, just because. Let's switch back over. Sorry, you're on my profile now. What was I thinking? Oh yeah, Resurrection, which is the new... I don't know how to pronounce the director's name, so I'm probably not going to try to. But this was put on my radar by one of my friends who watched it and really, really liked it. And just kind of the concept of what this is doing. It's apparently very visually forward, conceptually forward, in a way that was like, this sounds like it would be a great like film watching experience. But this isn't coming to any theaters anywhere remotely near me. Like, it's just not happening. So I'm probably actually going to order the Blu-ray of this so that I can actually watch it when it ships to me later in the year. So this is something that I want to watch just out of curiosity because of the concept that it was given. Sorry. And then the other one is going to be an adaptation of a movie or a book that I'm actually going to read later this year. That is the 2025 The Running Man, starring Glenn Powell. This is actually one that I was interested in watching in theaters. Then I don't think it actually came to my semi-local theater because I never saw it like in any of the newsletters or anything like that. It was showed in a bunch of the trailers of movies that I watched there, but this one I don't think actually came, which is a little unfortunate, I guess, but it seems like just enough fun for the concept. I know what the concept of The Running Man is. I'm interested in seeing that. I would have been interested in seeing this last year, even though I hadn't read the book yet. I'm going to be reading the book later this year, so very good chance that I go ahead and watch this somewhere streaming or something like that and, you know, circle back around to it. But I guess that is all the movies that we need to talk about for this video. In fact, yeah, that's it. This video is probably a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but let me know what films you are most excited to see for 2026. You know, depending on how the premises of these strike me, I may go and see some of them, but, you know, like I said, I kind of live in a pretty remote spot. There is a theater in my town. It's only one screen, and they only show like one film a weekend, and they only show like have 4 screenings of that each weekend or something like that. It's not very many. And beyond that, like I said, it's only one screen. Then the next town over has a theater, and that company technically has 2, but like between the 2 of those, it's only 5 screens. And a lot of times these more remote areas, they only really show the bigger name stuff. You know, they're not going to show anything smaller or local or independent or anything like that because they're not going to make money on it. As is, they don't make that much money on what they do show, so they're only going to show like the bigger stuff. So chances are there are probably plenty of things on my list here that even if they do show in theaters in some cases, because some of them might not, there's a good chance that I just don't get the chance to see any of these without going to the city 2 hours away. And that's already going hour and a half, you know, round trip. That's the word that I'm looking for. An hour and a half round trip excursion just to go see a movie in the theater is already pretty pricey as far as gas goes and stuff like that. So between gas and then actually seeing a movie and everything like that, there's a chance that some of these I don't actually go and see, and there's a chance that some of them I don't get the chance to see, like I said before, but these are some of the ones that I have my eye on for the moment. But go ahead and give me some of the movies that you're most excited to watch in 2026, because I would certainly be interested in hearing about it. But that will be the end of this video. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. For now, I've been your host, King Crusoe. You can call me KC, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.